Today we have Gerilyn Hayes McCloskey with us, better known as Hurricane G, and she is the frontwoman for the band BO NDBREAKR, which is based here out of Austin, Texas. Hi, G.
Hi. It's so good to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
How is South by treating you this year?
Beautifully.
Good.
Yeah, I'm having a really, really good time.
Aren't you just so happy that we're having it? It's been 2 years.
It finally feels like Austin is back. Like, it feels like we are finally able to be with each other in the same spaces and really enjoy what the city's about.
Yeah.
Music.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful.
That's right. It absolutely is. Now, is this your first year doing South by?
As a music artist, yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big deal.
It is. I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be honest, I don't listen to a lot of, hard punk and music. Did I even say that right?
Hardcore punk.
Okay, hard
punk. Yeah.
But I was listening to some of your stuff and I was just so impressed, and I was trying to understand it more, just from like a, soul perspective. And it seems like you really tap into like, more of a primal expression. Is that how you would say that, and can you expand on that for me?
Well, I really like how you described that feeling, the primal nature of it. I would have to say that it does come from a very deep, almost ancestral place. Something inside of me that has just been trying to come out. It's been springing out over the years, and I didn't realize that it was supposed to come out in the form of music. Before that, it came out in the form of anger, depression, anxiety, fear. Once I realized that I had all of this internalized rage and sadness, I had to do something with it, and I put it to sound. And yeah, what you're hearing is a true expression of everything deep within me, everything traumatic, not just my experiences, but those of my ancestors coming out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for describing it that way, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, can you go back into thinking about your ancestors and stuff like that? Is that something that you feel like you have to tap into, or just naturally you feel that out of, what it was they went through?
Yeah, so I think what I'm feeling is intrinsic. This is something that is innate, because it's within the DNA of, I would say, almost, if not every African American. I don't think it's something that you can just tap into. I think it's something that is in us daily. It's something we are born into. So this feeling of oppression, this feeling of bondage and displacement is always with us. So, tapping into that, it doesn't take a lot of work, because it's always there. It's ever present. It's just in how I move, how I navigate this world, how I perceive things. And yeah, I hope that answers your question. I may have cited myself a bit.
I wanted to hear it in your words, everything that is still going on, even to this day. It just really, it makes me angry, so I can't imagine how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And it's hard, that in some ways we've grown as a society. In some ways we really haven't at all.
Yeah, you're right. And I think a lot of it too has to do with the fact that a lot of Black people aren't asked about it. We're not asked, how are you? Are you doing okay? Or when we're asked about our state, when we're asked about our mental and emotional state, it usually comes after having witnessed a terrible tragedy at the hands of powers that be, that are sending out messages and narratives that Black lives do not matter, that we need to be stamped out, our voices do need to be kind of shut away brushed aside. I think too, a huge problem, there's a deficit in our country. We need to start talking to Black men. We need to start asking them questions. How are you feeling? How can I best help you be vulnerable while feeling safe? So my job as a Black woman, I need to love my Black people, and I need to love my Black men, and I need to make music and art that allows people to come into my space and open themselves up to see us. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. How can like we, as a white woman, how can I support you? How can the white community support you? Is it by asking you questions? I think sometimes there's that fear. Are we asking the right question? Are we asking the wrong question? Are we, at least for me, because I don't want to ever hurt anybody's feelings. But I also want to be supportive. And one ways I realized that how I wasn't being supportive is that, my kids, we have Black friends, and so I just didn't think to expand on what the history has been about and what we're going through now. And now I do. I mean, there's this basketball series that we watch called Swagger, which is amazing.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
It really touches on that. And it's just having this dialogue so my kids understand. And yeah, so I guess I would just like to know, like, what more can we do?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, my husband is of Irish American descent. So whenever we started dating, of course, I told him straight up, I'm a Black woman. I will be talking to you about Black things. And he had to take that within himself, and he did it very easily and warmly. But with Black friendships, Black relationships, whether they are professional or personal, it takes a responsibility to see that person for who they are. For you to say things like, I don't see color, I don't see race, is actually an erasure of that person. So by you even thinking the question, what can I do? How can I best XYZ? That's the start. And then when you start to do your research, like read books by Black authors, people that are doctors, people that actually are experienced in Blackness, read their works, take that information and go back to your white colleagues, counterparts, friends, family members, and share what you learned. That's how we grow. And we have to ask these questions, right? How else are we going to get along? Black people, we are strong people, but we are vulnerable people. And we do need allies, and we do need friends, and we need partnerships. And so in order for that to happen, we need you to ask us questions. Nothing's perfect. And I think when you are in an open space where you're allowed the freedom to ask these questions and kind of stumble a bit, that's where we all can start to grow. Nobody's going to ask the right questions, but you do need to start asking the questions.
Yeah, well, and I was just, it makes sense to me now, but during the pandemic, there was a lot more on, Black people and their mental health. And of course, I mean, everybody struggles with mental health. It doesn't discriminate.
Right.
But like you're saying, and I do believe that, things get passed down through generations. And so, of course, that's going to be an area for y'all. And I don't want to say y'all, it's in everybody, but I do believe if you haven't struggled with mental health, it will only be a certain time, and there's a range. Like, not everybody's going to hit some kind of rock bottom.
Right.
But everybody will go through something or know somebody who has. So I'm just thankful that you're on here today and can share more about that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So I read that you're from Galveston.
Yes.
Okay. I was raised north of Houston, so I wasn't too far from you. Yeah.
Nice. We're neighbors.
Yeah, neighbors. And here too.
Yeah. This is awesome.
Yeah, would you mind sharing with us just a little bit how you were raised and when you started noticing mental health?
Yeah, so my mother raised me in Galveston. Just to backtrack and have a little foundation, Galveston is a pretty amazing town. I don't know if you're familiar, you probably have heard about the 1900 storm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the 1900 storm really kind of reset Galveston in a way. Before that storm occurred, Galveston was known as one of the most diverse cities in Texas. You know, there was kind of this feeling that there would potentially be an oil boom. And so a lot of people were going there. There were a lot of casinos, a lot of commerce coming through Galveston, which was really great. But the 1900 storm had so many devastating effects, one of which was some severe and ugly racism that actually came out of the result. So an example, a true example of that, whenever people were trying to gather the bodies out of the street, a lot of the authorities went door to door and they said, "Are there any black men here?" And if there were black men there, they told those black men, "You need to come with us now because we need for you to gather the bodies. We need you to take these bodies out of the street and we need you to burn them." This wasn't a volunteer situation. A lot of it was at gunpoint.
Oh, I had no idea on that.
And these men were called the Dead Gang. So they would gather the bodies, pile them, funeral pyres. There were so many bodies in the water that the beach kept bringing them back to the shore. So when we talk about generational trauma, there's an undulation that occurs, especially in a town like Galveston. There is something deep in our history that will always be there. And so that's my foundation. That's where I'm from. And I love Galveston. I think it's a beautiful place. Understanding its history has really solidified my spirit and like everything that I do. So having that home and being able to go back home and visit my mom who raised me with the help of my aunts and uncles and my wonderful grandparents, I had a really lovely childhood. I was raised by one of the most amazing artistic women on earth. And I went to school there, elementary, middle school, high school, and it really wasn't until middle school when I found rock and roll. I found Jimi Hendrix, and everything changed.
Yeah.
I saw something I'd never seen before, which was this stunning, powerful black man with just this electricity coming out of his fingertips. I wanted to be like that. I wanted to feel that all the time. So my mom nourished that, and she allowed me to be in the band in middle school, high school, and I was able to learn how to read music, learn how to play music. I played the clarinet for like 10 years.
Yeah.
There's a few songs that I've written and composed by using the clarinet. And my mom really leaned into me being creative and really going after that artistic side and also getting a job.
Yeah.
So instilling the hard work and the work ethic, but I had a really good foundation, really good basis, and I think it just informs a lot of how I move now. So went to school, down the road in San Marcos at Texas State. I went there when it was Southwest Texas State.
I did too.
Really? You're a Bobcat?
I am.
All right. Yeah, so you already know that experience. You know, when I first got to the campus, I saw all the trees and I fell in love. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that Texas could be like this.
Yeah, I know.
So I fell in love with Southwest Texas, and then it became Texas State. Got a degree in fashion merchandising, mass communications minor. What did I do with that? A lot, a little. But yeah, it's that's pretty much my background. Very creative, nice. And rooted in some pretty rich history.
Yeah. So when did mental health start to come into your life, or when did you start to, you said a lot of your music is from the depression, anger, fear. When did you start noticing that? Yeah,
so I lost my grandmother in 2001, December 2001. And at that time, I had never really experienced such a deep and profound loss in my life. Of course, family members, friends had passed on, but she was someone that I relied heavily on in terms of I'm in college and I call my grandmother every Thursday and every Sunday evening, and I had that anchor in my life, and she really understood me better than most people. So when she left, I was adrift. And I experienced a void within myself that I had never experienced before. And it was only maybe 10, 12 years after her passing that my mother told me, I think you might be depressed. And I said, I'm not depressed, I'm just tired. About 5 more years had passed. I was rocking and rolling, having a good old time, writing my poetry, writing my songs. Did not know that they were songs. These were just journal entries. And this was me saying, I don't know why I'm supposed to be here. I don't think I want to be here. I probably shouldn't say that to my mom. Who can I tell? I know, I'll tell Jack Daniels. He knows me better than anybody. I fell in love with him. He and I were in that bottle. I eventually met Jim. I met Telemordu. I met everybody. I met the whole gang. And there were days when I woke up and I knew that at the end of my workday, I was going to go to the bar and I was just going to hang out. And then it got to a point where it was untenable and I knew I had to stop. But I knew that I couldn't. And that's when I said, G, you need to see somebody. You need to do it right now. Because when the booze stopped working, I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to move on to anything harder. And I also didn't want to lose myself in that void. Yeah. So I ended up Googling, do I have the blues? And, I did a lot of digging. And within the soul search and the Google search, I was able to find Therapy Austin. And signed up, I filled out their form and, briefly explained, this issue, these challenges that I've been experiencing for almost 2 decades, and finally was able to talk with somebody in person and just explain to them, I can't even tell you what's wrong. I just know something's wrong, and I know that I'm drinking too much, and I know that it's impacting my professional and personal relationships. I can't tell anybody this without the fear of judgment. Please help me. And that's what happened. And, I'm here now because I made a decision to be here. But there are days when I did not want to make choices.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I was able to understand that what I was experiencing was depression, and it was also anxiety. A lot of the anxiety coming from the fact that I, as a Black woman, experience somewhat a dual nature of experience and embodiment of being both a Black person and also a person. Because as African American people, and I will just speak for myself, walking outside every day can be very challenging when you haven't addressed the fact that you are feeling something that is outside of you and you are internalizing it. I recognize that as an African American first, being Black presenting and proud first presents a challenge to the dominant narrative. I know that when I walk outside, someone will be afraid of me because they were told to be afraid of me. I have to wear that every day. And I have to be aware of their response. Are they going to hurt me? Are they going to hurt someone that looks like me? Are they going to do something to a person that looks like me? And would I be able to help them because I might get hurt too, or worse? That's being Black first, right? The second part is me being a woman. I have to walk outside and know that this body presents challenges. It also extends to some people an open invitation to access. And I have to wear both of these things when I leave my house. I didn't realize that that's where my anxiety stemmed from. And then I go back home and I'm safe, right? You know, I pet my cat and I put on my robe and I'm relaxed and everything's great. And I turn on the news and I see a Black person has been taken away systemically, and sometimes, depending on where they were, government sanctioned. And I have to remember that that's not me. But because of our communal and ancestral displacement, that is me. I can't help but feel it. And that's depression. And then I have my own depression. I've lost my grandmother. I've lost an aunt who was very, very dear to me. I've lost friends. And I get up every day and you have to go to work and you put on your face and you are nice to people and they ask you, how are you doing? And you can't say, I am panicking. I can't breathe at all. You say, I'm good. Girl, how you doing? And you keep it moving. But there needs to be more people saying, you're allowed to feel your anger. You're allowed to feel your rage and your fear. You're allowed. And if you have to do that in your own home, do it in your own home. If you have to do that with a friend, do it with a friend. And if you have to do it with a person that doesn't know you, and you need to go to talk therapy, or you need medication, you need to be told that it's okay to do it. And I mean, Black people need that. And that's what I'm here for. Black people, Indigenous people, trans people, everyone, people of color, all of us. We need it.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about it more, and we need to be more open about what is happening to us. You can look at a black person on the street, a Hispanic person on the street. If you start to look at us, really look at us, you'll start to see us truly. So that's another thing you could do.
Yeah.
In addition to asking, attempt to peer.
Yeah, just looking and saying hi.
Yeah.
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 I'm sorry you have to go through all that.
I mean, it is what it is. America is just a beautiful place. I mean, the landscape, the ingenuity, the architecture, the influences, the structures, everything. America is amazing. And I think if we really took time to embrace each other and look around and look at the beauty, look at the things that we've created, look at what we've done together, maybe we could start to really feel like we're here with each other.
Yeah. I feel like what's been missing, and I don't know if it's ever been taught in people, is compassion.